2009 when I started the company with my personal savings, which I can tell you wasn't a great deal. We started with 500 bottles of Toro Test. That was my first product. And from there we've grown organically by treating customers correctly, by working closely with people and having partnerships with people like Joaquin. Most of my friends now, in fact pretty much all of my friends are in the industry. They're either store owners or they're athletes, and these have become my family. That word gets bandied around this industry a lot and falsified, but truly I live with these guys all year. I mean, I've been away from home, and home is just me and my girlfriend back home. 30 weeks this year I've been on the road, out of the country, and that's not including domestic travel within the UK and Europe. So for me to do that, I have to have people that I can trust and I can spend time with, and they are friends. So I live what this company's all about. I live this lifestyle, and I don't intend changing that. And we're just hitting some new territories. I mean, Joaquin mentioned us going down to Mexico. I mean, we're looking at growing in South America this next 12 months. That's one of the goals, and Joaquin's helping facilitate that, obviously with his roots in Mexico. And I like to have people that I can trust who work with me, and even if they've got businesses of their own like Joaquin, I like them to work with me on the brand and give a piece of ownership. That's the way that I've grown things, and it's the best way to do things, because I've walked this journey by myself for the first 5 years with no one really around me, and it's very lonely. But now I have some really good people. I mean, 12 months ago, Frank Colacino joined me as my vice president, actually down here in Texas. He takes care of the whole of the USA for me. We've had so much fun this last 12 months working together. That's a model that the business will continue. So I've got Joaquin now, who's helping me in Mexico. We're just about to announce another athlete for South America. And I've got Brad Rowe and Dominic Cardona over here in America who take on more and more responsibility. So I'm having a lot of fun building the brand with the right people around me, and that's what we're going to continue to do.
I'll tell you, his brand is pretty awesome. Our trip to Mexico, I know he kind of undercuts it, but it was fun, man. And you know, Joe came to visit me probably about a couple of weeks before I was planning on going down there. And the original intent of the trip was I have a uncle down there who opened a gym, and I was just going to go down there and help him a little bit with his new gym and teach him some nutrition stuff. And Joe came to visit me as he always does when he's here, and just in a conversation, I was like, "Hey, Joe, why don't you come down to Mexico with me?" And Joe was like, "You know what? I'd like to go." And then from there, we ended up on the road to Mexico. We drove my car to Monterrey, which was not a bad drive. After talking to my uncle, a lot of people fear Mexico, and they think they're going to get kidnapped and all this.
Well, the police on the back of the car with shotguns, like, it's kind of...
It is a little scary to someone who's not used to seeing something like that. For me, like I said, since I have roots there and I travel back and forth throughout my life, it's normal. And I know that's how they run their security. But yeah, they're driving around with guns and stuff, hand on the trigger. It's something different for someone who hasn't seen it. But I think overall, in the time that we were there, we didn't see any crimes. I mean,
it was a really enjoyable trip. And the one thing I love about going to different countries is experiencing the culture and getting to know what people are like. And the people of Mexico and generally South America, which I've met, it's genuinely so loyal. It's genuine people, and if you make a connection there, you have that bond for a long time. And that's the one thing I can't stress enough. It's like so many people, like the other company owners, just miss out by not getting out there and meeting people. You have to do business face to face. You have to have relationships with people. I mean, the people of Mexico have just welcomed us. I mean, I stood out like a sore thumb being like 6 foot plus and European, but they made me feel super welcome.
I thought Joe for sure was going to get kidnapped. When I'm like, I got to have a plan, because this guy is like, he stands out 2 feet on top of everybody else. He has a real deep accent. He's not American. But no, he blended right in. We traveled a lot while we were in Monterrey. We were working out at a different gym every day nearly, and we were visiting accounts, kind of like what Joe does. So I got a taste of what his life is like, being on the road and whatnot, talking to people.
Cooking microwave food.
Cooking microwave food, which I did not do.
Broccoli and beef in the microwave.
This guy, right? This guy right here was cooking in the microwave eating beef, and I was like, man, he's not even on a diet, and he's doing that. But again, that's life on the road for him, and I got to experience it. So we were blessed on our trip. I got to translate for him, which was good for me because I got to learn a lot more about his products. The products that I carry, the products that I take. You take certain products, but a lot of times, even athletes at a pro level, really most of the time don't know the function and what it does and why you take it. You take it because maybe somebody else told you that they take it and it's good. So I got to go more in depth with his products and just explaining to people while we were there. We got to see a bodybuilding show just out of a whim, and when we went to the bodybuilding show, the host, the bodybuilder, which he's a top national level guy in Mexico, actually allowed us to present trophies on stage. They did a 15-minute intermission, which Joe and I got to talk about his company, his products, and possibly bringing them into Mexico, which was awesome. And this was just, we showed up and this guy treated us like that. So the hospitality was amazing there. The city of Monterrey itself was beautiful. Like I said, we actually, I had to sit down with Joe and I was like, man, we got to do some stuff while we're here. We got to go see some sights, and we went to this mountain range. I don't remember what it was called. It was like Cola de Caballo or something like that, which means the horse's tail. It was a beautiful waterfall in the mountains. And we got to go out there and ride a wagon, and Joe got to sit on a pony, and we did some fun stuff. So, and then the work.
The pony thought it was fun.
Yeah.
The pony didn't look too happy with me, so
the owner of the pony didn't like that. Like I said, we got to do some fun stuff. We got to go to the different gyms, and there was like literally a gym every 2 miles. There was a gym, which was shocking.
That really, really surprised me. The amount of growth in fitness in a developing city. You can see it's just sprawling out. It's sprawling gyms and nutrition stores or health food places just cropping up everywhere. I mean, it's a real eye-opener going out there because it's something I wouldn't have expected. Before I went out there, I wouldn't have expected that level of gyms or fitness to be that big, but it just shows the strength of our industry and the amount of growth potential which is still there. It was a real eye-opener for me. It got me very excited this time.
It was a fun time, and I said that was just one trip of many to come, I think, for South America and Mexico. We had a great time while we were there, and I think it brought Joe and I even closer together. He got to meet part of my family, got to work out together for a while, and some of the supplements he has. Like I said, I personally have been using a lot of his stuff for a while now, and I can kind of go through and tell you what it is that I use out of Joe's line, which, like I said, is a huge majority. And Joe can probably tell you a little bit better than I can how these products actually work. So I'll start down the line here with the Heart Plus and Liver Plus. So those are two that I take daily, and as far as what I know, your heart and liver, and there's much more that they protect other than just heart and liver, are huge part, especially for bodybuilders and some of the other supplements that we use. You want to have those as your insurance policy, and Joe can tell you a little bit more about what's actually in them and how they work.
Yeah, so the liver and the heart both part of the wellness line, and that's an aspect that no other supplement companies really cater for, and I see it as being quintessential. All the other products are fantastic, for improving workouts and performance, but you may be masking some issues. If you don't get the foundations right, if your body's not functioning correctly, those issues are only going to manifest even further, and it's going to affect health later on down the line. It's going to affect the way that you respond to training, the way you respond to food, and it's really, you wouldn't build a house without good foundations. I look at the body as exactly the same thing. The better functionality that a body can have, the more longevity you can have in the sport, and also the better success in the short, medium and long term. So Heart Plus, I think we're going to release that maybe 8 or 9 months ago, and on a formula level it's probably one of our strongest, just for the amount of quality materials that are in there. If you were to buy that product individually from Life Extension, then you'd be looking at $120, $130. Vitamin K2 is in there. the MK7 variety, which, I mean, vitamin K2 is something we're actually naturally deficient of now. I mean, we used to get it earlier on from raw dairy, but we don't have raw dairy anymore, and most people avoid dairy, so K2 is something we're very deficient in, and that will help, and shown to help, remove plaque from arterial walls, which a lot of bodybuilders, a lot of athletes, as the years go by, our arterial walls get thicker and they lose some of the flexibility. So that's a really important ingredient in there. And you couple that with things like curcumin, which I don't even think I need to speak about curcumin. That's one of the best singular ingredients. I think everybody should be using that just a singular ingredient for general health. The anti-inflammatory properties and the improvements and health markers and inflammation that singular ingredient provides is just outstanding and unquestionable. So that's in there, and obviously we include beaprine, black pepper extract, which increases the absorption of curcumin. If you don't have black pepper in there, then you aren't going to get the amount of curcumin absorbed. The bioavailability is not very good without that there. And probably the most expensive ingredient in there, and one of the most well known, is ubiquinol. It's a licensed ingredient from Kanika. If you look at the bottle, we actually have 4 licensed ingredients on that product. We spent 13 months getting that product together and getting approval on the licenses, which is something I'm a real stickler about. It's getting the highest grade raw materials licensed if possible, and making them into a product that's multifunctional, that's going to really improve whatever aspect we're looking for. In this case, it's improving heart function and longevity within sport. So that's one product that I'm very, very proud of, and as a health insurance for an athlete, I think it should be there. Everyday use, I think it should be there. If you couple that with the liver, which is a high dose of NAC, acetylcysteine and milk thistle, we've actually had that product. That was the second product actually launched. We launched with a test booster from way back in 2009. Pro hormones were still on the scene then. So the first thing that I thought of was with pro hormones is you think PCT, post-cycle therapy, which is why we had the Toro test. And the next thing is liver toxicity. Oral pro hormones or other oral supplements are very, very harsh on lipid profiles, liver profile. And this product, which we've had out now 6 years, we've had hundreds of people come back with reports of the liver enzymes improving after using it for 2 to 3 weeks. If you use that product with good water flow, ingesting a good amount of H2O and flushing toxins out of the system, then you're going to get really improved markers. Also, overall inflammation is going to be improved by using that product, and most people will actually see improvements not just in liver function and inflammation, but some improvements in even skin, because you're getting a lot of free radicals and you're flushing out toxins from the system. So those two are pretty much products that I wouldn't say we would push as supplements. They're just general health. I mean, everybody should be using those. I mean, even people that don't train and have stress on their organs from social activities such as drinking or just poor diet, smoking, you know, those two products are going to help everybody out.
So I'd take them, and you know, I'm like most people, you know, it's not one of those things where for me it was something like, oh yeah, I need to take heart and liver. You know, one of the reasons that I started taking them was Joe. You know, he's like, hey man, we need to keep you around longer, and these two supplements are going to help you with that. And as we get older, I think, you know, longevity and self-preservation become more important. But a lot of the younger athletes probably should consider, you know, using these supplements, because, like Joe said, you know, even pro hormones can cause damage. Alcohol causes damage, and these are supplements that are going to give you a better quality of life. I just last week I actually had blood work done, and for the first time, my liver enzymes were normal.
Yeah, we've had reports back with liver, as I say, over 6 years. That's been consistent. The heart's a lot newer, but we've already had people reporting back improvements in blood work. I mean, we have a lot of athletes who get blood work, and that should be a given if you're using additional supplements, is to get regular blood work. So we've had the feedback. We've actually posted on social media some of the other people's blood works and how they've improved. and blood pressure readings. I mean, that's the silent killer, is blood pressure. So
big. All of my numbers, just like last week, I was down at the VA. Everything was fine. And the doctor was impressed because my lipids, my liver enzymes have always been out of whack. Even when I've been supplement free, we'll say, they've been out of whack. And for the first time, everything was normal. My blood pressure was normal. My liver enzymes were normal. And I contribute that to the liver and heart, actually, because that's one of the only things that I changed from the last time I had blood work, and my stuff was out of whack. So again, those are two that are staples now for my personal supplementation. Awesome products. I highly recommend them. Moving down the line, I think the next one we have, which I actually use, is Matador. Matador and Ravenous were the two supplements that caught my eye when Joe first came to my store over a year ago, and because there were supplements that I had never considered myself. As bodybuilders, we always think, oh, supplements. You think pre-workout, you think protein, maybe creatine, BCAAs. That's what we think about as far as supplements. And when Joe started talking to me about Matador and Ravenous, that's what caught my eye about his company. Is he had two supplements which I hadn't seen anybody else carry, especially Matador. And when he had started educating me about the importance of insulin and the role it plays for someone who's trying to put on lean muscle or just health in general, it really caught my eye. And Joe can tell you a little bit more about Matador.
yeah, Matador and Matador and Ravenous in the same category is. As athletes, so if you're into sports athletes, we're eating a lot of food. The diet makes up a huge percentage of how successful we're going to be. And the amount of food that we ingest, we need maximum absorption and functionality from those nutrients. So if we focus singly on Matador, that's a partitioner or a glucose disposal agent. It's actually our best seller in Europe now. That product, it's about 5 years old, and there weren't too many companies who were looking at this type of product. Now they're just starting to get a little bit more popular as the education's followed, but we were pretty much one of the first to bring this out. There was a couple of other companies over here in the US that had some other products in that category, but this has really started to grow this last, I'm going to say 12 to 18 months. This category recognition's got there. So you would ingest, or you take this product about 20 minutes before you ingest a carbohydrate meal. So what that will do is it will increase insulin sensitivity at a cellular level and encourage those carbohydrates, once broken down into glucose in the bloodstream, to be directed intramuscular for muscle glycogen and also help drive other nutrients in there, as opposed to it not being able to find its way into the muscle cell, which is what insulin resistance is, and that's what most of a large percentage of the USA and the Western world have a form of insulin resistance. Once that is the case, then nutrients can't get into the muscle cell. So that will basically mean that the glucose will continue to be circulating in the bloodstream, and the pancreas will secrete even more insulin to try and redirect them into the muscle cell, which isn't going to happen because the sensitivity is completely shot. So there's only one place that can then be stored, and that's as body fat. It's going to be increasing the size of current body fat stores or creating new fat cells, and that's exactly what we don't want as athletes, and it's what the general public doesn't want. So if you look at the raising in obesity levels and look at the nutrition now, compared to what it was 20, 30 years ago, everyone's living on refined carbohydrates and simple sugars. It's all convenience foods, it's all fast-acting foods, and it's high levels of carbohydrate and processed carbohydrates and sugars, and that's causing insulin resistance. So this product is fantastic for athletes, but again, the general public take the carbohydrates and then try and adopt a lower carbohydrate regimen at certain times and get your health markers better. As an athlete looking to build muscle, if you're insulin resistant, you ain't going to grow. It's just not going to be as efficient. So staying a little leaner and keeping insulin sensitivity is only going to yield more improved lean muscle gains over the long term. So I think now, even you and a lot of the clients that you coach, you look at like a little reset period in an off season where you might pull someone's carbohydrate and maybe diet them for 3 to 4 weeks to reset sensitivity. I mean, years ago this wasn't done.
No.
You just push more food.
Right. And I actually experienced that myself. You know, I've always been a carb guy. You know, I've always fell under that notion that I needed carbs, that, you know, I wanted to look fuller and have full muscle bellies, and when I pulled carbs I looked flat and all that nonsense, which for the most part was just in my head. You know, like I said, once I met Joe, a lot in myself and the way that I prepped a lot of my clients has changed. You know, I actually started incorporating keto, and one of the eye-openers for me was when I did a period of keto, you know, where I was just doing majority just protein and fats, how my insulin sensitivity changed when I went back to eating the carbohydrates. It was a huge change, you know, and like I said, once I experienced that for myself, you know, I was able to apply it to a lot of my clients and, you know, yield better results because they work. And Joe's absolutely right. You know, as a society, especially here in the U.S., we consume so many carbohydrates, you know, even in juice and in sodas and things you would never guess that hurt you or we think are healthy are packed with carbohydrates. And what I've noticed for the combination of Matador and Ravenous, which Ravenous it's an animal all on its own because of how it aids me with digestion. But when I combine those two, even when I don't eat very healthy and I take them, I notice that I don't gain as much body fat as I used to.
Yeah, people can get away with eating a little bit more carbohydrate. They're going to stay leaner. They get away with that cheat meal every now and then. So that's one use. I mean, I'd say about 50% of our client base in Europe are female with Matador because they're scared of carbohydrates, and this really gives them the confidence to eat some. And when they realise they're not going to store extra adipose after a few weeks of usage, that confidence really grows. And I'm not very good with carbohydrates myself, so I kind of selfishly made this point. I realised that I needed it, so let's put something out there. So that's one use for Matador. We're also overlooking one other use for Matador, which once you work with advanced athletes and you understand supplementation, what goes on at the elite level, and the role of exogenous insulin, how that could be used around the workout perimeter, then you'll see that there's a use for Matador. So this can actually be used to mimic insulin in the pre-workout period. So for people who are going to ingest intra-workout carbohydrates, which will be our Raging Full product, which we'll come on to shortly. But if you were to take a Matador about 20 to 30 minutes pre-training and start sipping on your intra-workout drink and continue to drink carbohydrates through the workout, that's going to really give you a crazy pump and help deliver nutrients. But the pumps are pretty much retarded when you use that as a combination.